Now we're on Daf Chavavam and Bezi Hachi. If it's really true, the way you said it, that the reason why these are Asuris Lisyamim is because of the Yisur Bittul Mitzvahs Yevamot with Choshish Lemisa is then Chamisha. Why didn't the Mishnah tell me a bigger Chiddush? So let's say there were 5 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and Yisachar. And Rachel and Leah were married off respectively to Reuven and Shimon. Reuven and Shimon died, and Rachel and Leah fell for Yibum in front of Levi, Yehuda, and Yisachar, 3 brothers. Nami, we're still going to apply the Isser Yibum because of a chashash of bittul mitzvahs Yibum. Why? Because if we allow Levi to be the Yamim Rachel, and now Leah requires the Yibum and Chalitza, but what happens is that both Yehuda and Yisachar die. So the Gemara answers, Lemisa de Trey Lo Chayshina. We don't prohibit and block Yibum because of Chayshina Lebittul Mitzvahs Yibum in the case where we have to assume that 2 brothers will die. You have to ask an actuary, but the chances that 1 brother will die are very minimal, let alone 2 brothers. Okay. Now again, in a case where Yibum is out of the picture, there's an Isser Yibum, and therefore there's no possibility other than Chalitza, that's called Chalitza Psula. No, the mitzvah Chalitza applies and is fulfilled when the Yavam had the option of being the Yabim, and he chose to give a Chalitza. So that's the mitzvah of Chalitza. Chalitza Psula is in a situation where he doesn't have the option, the alternative of Yibum. He's forced to give a Chalitza. That's called Chalitza Psula. Amar Rava, Bar Rav Huna. Amar Rav, Shalosh Achios Yevamot Shenaflus Neishnei Achin Yevamin. We have a case of 5 brothers that goes from Reuven down to Yisachar. Rachel, Leah, and Sarah are sisters. So we have 3 sisters and 5 brothers. And we're going to do it this way. That's the way he sets it up. Levi marries Rachel, Yehuda marries Leah, Yisachar marries Sarah, and Levi, Yehuda, and Yisachar die without any children. And 3 sisters, Rachel, Leah, and Sarah, fall in front of Reuven and Shimon for Yibum. Is zeh choletz li achas, v'zeh choletz li achas, v'emtsois tzricha chalitza mishneya. Whoa, is this complicated? We have 3 sisters that are falling for Yibum. Now, there are only 2 brothers alive because 3 brothers never died. So we'll say it like this. Shimon, we'll start with Reuven, right? There's only Reuven and Shimon alive. Reuven will give Chalitza to one of the sisters, Shimon to a second of the sisters. And again, they can't fall for Yibum for one of 2 reasons, either because Achos Kukas if you hold Yesh Zika, or because of the Isur Bittul Mitzvahs Yibum if you hold Ein Zika. And now the 3rd sister, which is called the Emtsois, she needs Chalitza from both Reuven and Shimon. What is that all about? Amale Rabba. Again, we're analyzing the sheet of Rav, which was recorded and transmitted by Rava. And now Rabba turns to Rava and he says, Mida ka'amedem tsoyes tricha chalitza mishneim. From the fact that the Emtsois needs chalitza from both Reuven and Shimon, we can prove the kasavris yesh zika. It means that she has a Zika relationship with each one of the brothers. The Havule Chalitza Psula. Now, again, we have to figure out why we're focused on one of the three sisters, which is called the Emtsois in this case. We would call it the third sister. So each one of the first two sisters got chalitza, respectively, from one of the two brothers. Now, there's no possibility of yibum with the third sister, the Emtsois, and yibum is blocked because we're holding now yesh zika. So she's achos kukasa. If that be the case, then since yibum is excluded, the chalitza is going to be a chalitza psula. And the chalitza psula requires that each one of the brothers implement chalitza. It's not enough that one brother goes chalitza, because that chalitza is a second-rate chalitza insofar as it cannot be implemented as yibum. Yibum was not an option. And that's called, in the Gemara's language, chalitza psula tzarech lachzor kol ha'achim. So she needs chalitza from all the brothers. Which is very strange because the other two sisters, each one respectively received one chalitza. Why does she need two chalitzas? I mean, if you're applying the principle of chalitza, that's going to be the Gemara's next objection. Ihachi, says the Gemara, I have a kasha. This is Rabbi asking a kasha on Rav. Kamaisa nami. Kamaisa means the first ones, the first two sisters should also require chalitza from each one of the other brothers. And yet we're saying that each one of these two sisters will get one chalitza from one of the other brothers. This brother will be chalitza, this one and that one. Why? It's a chalitza psula. So to the same extent that when you get to the achrona, which the Gemara calls the emtsois, we're going to apply this principle that chila psula machzeres al kol ha'achim. So too, we should apply it to each one of the three. Why do you let the other two get away with one single chalitza from one brother? And the Gemara answers to explain Rav. I did nafel bivas achas is hachinami. If, let's say, there was a situation in which all three of these sisters were in a state of zkuka liyibum simultaneously. For example, the Rishona fell for yibum with the death of one of the brothers. And before she got chalitza, another brother died. And then a third brother died. He says, Meis Levi Rishon below Banu Nafla Rachel Ishtoli Yibum below Spika Lachlos. She didn't get a chalitza Jemesu Yehuda V'Sachar below Banim. V'Naflu Gam Nishosehem Liyibum. Hachinami, in this case, then Einachinami, each one of the three sisters would certainly require chalitza from each one of the brothers. Below Tzricha, when is Rav's discussion that each one of the first two sisters requires one chalitza from one brother, and the other one of the sisters another chalitza from the other brother? The nafel bezu achar zu. What does it mean, bezu achar zu? Levi dies without any children. Nafla chada. So Rachel, Levi's wife, fell for Yibum. V'choletz la Reuven. Reuven already gave chalitza immediately. Before before Leah fell for Yibum. Now, this chalitza is a chalitza kshera. It's not a chalitza psula. He could have been the Yabim. Because there's no Isser of Achos Kukaso, because the other sister is not as Kuka, because her husband is still alive and well. Now, Nafla Idach, so Yehuda now dies, and his wife Leah falls for Yibum. V'cholatz lo Shimon. Shimon now gave her chalitza. This chalitza is also a chalitza kshera. He could have been the Yavim. The fact that his other brother, Levi, was Miyabim Rachel, that doesn't preclude him meaning, what's his name, Yehuda, from being Miyabim Leah. So therefore he gave Leah chalitza and everything's fine. Now Yisachar, the last brother, dies. V'nafla idach. Right, Yisachar, we said, was married to Sarah. She falls for Yibum in front of Ruvain and Shimon. And now she becomes a chos chalutzasam for both Ruvain and Shimon. Because Ruvain is married to Rachel and Shimon is married to Leah. So Sarah is the third sister. So now the chalitza to Sarah is a chalitza psula because there's no option of Yibum because she's going to be Eishes Achiv. I mean, Chos Ishta. Sorry. When there's a chalitza psula, then the din is that one chalitza of one brother is not enough to be mafkia the chalitza, the zika, for the rest of the brothers. Each brother has to give his own private chalitza. Is chalitz lahai mafkia zikaso, chalitz lahai mafkia zika. So each brother, through his chalitz, has to be mafkia the zika. So the Gemara asks the kasha of Amar Rav. Rav, back on Daf Yud Zayin Amid Beis, is committed to the following ruling: Shomeres Yavam Shemesa Mutter Be'ima. Oh, after Shomeres Yavam dies, the Yevamot dies, he's allowed to marry her mother. Almo, we see from that the Ein Zika. Our whole explanation of Rav is built and predicated on Yesh Zika, and now we say that Rav himself is committed to Ein Zika. So the Gemara answers that this whole statement of Rav of Chalitza Psula, Tzricha Latza Kol Ha'achim, that's L'divrei Omer Yesh Zika Kama. But Leilo Svirle, I mean, I'm just adding those words on my own, meaning that Rav never accepted the principle of Yesh Zika. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says against Rav that Chalitza Psula ain't a tzricha latza kol achim. Shmuel Amar echad choletz lekulam. For all three women, one Chalitza is sufficient. So the Gemara says, Michti Shamina Leila Shmuel Diamar Chalitza Mi'alya Be'inot. Wait a second. Chalitza, according to Shmuel, requires a chalitza ma'alya, a chalitza kshera. That breaks up the zika. But not in the case of chalitza psula. The Yom Shmuel, here on the top of Chav Zayin, cholatz liachios lo nifteru tsaros. And if Shimon and Levi were married to Rachel and Leah, who are sisters, let's say Shimon married Leah and Levi married Rachel, and Shimon has another wife by the name of Sarah besides Rachel. Besides Leah, he has another wife named Sarah. And Levi, besides being married to Rachel, has another wife named Rivka. And Shimon and Levi die without children. And now these sisters, together with their tsaros, fall for Yibum in front of Reuven, who's the brother of Shimon and Levi. If Reuven gives chalitza to Leah, the wife of Shimon, her tsara, namely Sarah, needs her own chalitza. Or, for example, if he was choletz Rachel Eshes Levi, then Levi's other wife, Rivka, is not ptura as a tzara, but rather she needs her own chalitza. Because since these two sisters are asuros liyabim, because each one of them is achos kukaso, the chalitza is a chalitza psula, and it cannot pater up the achios. And Shmuel says that even with regard to the chalitza of the tsaros, which is a chalitza psula, they're asuros lisyabim because of the isra achos kukaso. And since this isra is relatively kal, it's not an isra of achos ishto mamish. Therefore, the chalitza is considered a very fine chalitza, and it paters up all the achios. They don't need another chalitza. So therefore, we understand the din that chalitzas achios doesn't pater up the tsaros, and the chalitza the tsaros does, would pater up the achios, but not the other way around. Okay, so in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow, we'll have a little bit more time. We'll be able to analyze this statement of Shmuel a little bit further.